A man named Eddie Palmer returns to his hometown. Upon seeing her grandson on the doorstep, Vivian hugged him. She's genuinely glad that Eddie is finally home. He entered his room where it seems nothing has changed over the years. Looking out the window, Eddie saw the neighbor. Shelley and her son. This family is clearly dysfunctional. Vivian said that if it weren't for the boy, she would have kicked Shelley and her boyfriend out of the trailer long ago while Eddie was eating. His grandmother told him that he should find a job and get back to life because just sitting and feeling sorry for himself is the last thing to do. The next day, Eddie went to look for work. It's one of the conditions of his parole. However, finding a job wasn't as easy as it seemed. In the evening, Eddie got drunk at the bar and met his old friends. They reminisced about the past. One of the guys, Daryl, whose son is into football, mentioned that Eddie's touchdown was only surpassed a couple of years ago. Another old friend, Coles, who recently became a sheriff, was also glad to see Eddie freed. Perhaps life will now get back on track soon. Shelley arrived at the bar and immediately began to show interest in Eddie. The morning after the fun night, Eddie stepped out of the trailer. Vivian, who noticed him, was a bit shocked by 10 in the morning. Vivian woke her grandson to go with her to church. Sam, Shelley's son, also went with them. In the church, all the parishioners looking at Eddie were whispering. And Sam clearly doesn't get along with his peers. After the service, while different people were approaching Eddie, Daryl noticed something was wrong with Sam. He was acting like a girl. Upon arriving home, Vivian gave Sam some food. She is very kind to this boy. Eddie still can't get out of the prison routine. In the morning, Vivian gave him a shopping list and a bit of money. Eddie was ashamed to take money from his grandmother, but he isn't earning anything yet. Leaving the house, Eddie noticed Shelley leaving somewhere with her boyfriend. In the store, Eddie saw that an employee was needed, but the manager said the position was no longer available. He probably just didn't want to hire a man with a criminal record. Sam is combing Vivian's hair. When Eddie came over, Vivian told him that Sam would be staying with them because his mother left again. Eddie noticed that Sam likes to play with dolls and told him it's not for boys. However, Sam doesn't think so. At dinner, Vivian asked her grandson if he managed to find a job. These conversations really irritate Eddie. The last straw was when Vivian accused him of theft that very night. Seeing at the bar job posting for a janitor, Eddie went for an interview the next morning. However, due to his conviction, he was denied. Eddie tried to convince Mr. Sibbs and Mr. Forbes, the school principal, to give him a chance, saying that he never broke the rules in all 13 years of his prison term. Learning that Eddie had been a scholar at the University of Louisiana and was the best player in Riverside for 2 years, Mr. Forbes promised he would try to help him in the evening. During dinner, Sam told Miss Vivian that she was wrong yesterday when she accused Eddie of stealing. Soon Eddie received a call and found out that his candidacy had been approved. Now Eddie is a janitor at a school. Sam, by the way, also studies here. He gets along well with girls. But not boys. Teacher Maggie Hayes always stands up for Sam. Eddie goes to church every Sunday with his grandmother. Some think that Vivian should contact Child Protective Services and put Sam in an orphanage. Such suggestions deeply outrage Vivian. In the morning, Annie saw that Sam was watching cartoons about fairy princesses and playing with dolls. He said that Miss Vivian was still sleeping. This made Annie wary when he entered his grandmother's room. He saw what he feared most. Vivian had passed away. The funeral was held soon. Vivian was a respected person among the parishioners. Many are mourning her for Eddie and Sam. This is a great loss. The employer told Eddie that he did not have to come to work tomorrow. At home, Sam is sad and is going through Vivian's makeup bag. Eddie didn't say anything to him and went to the bar, returning home late. All of Vivian's things are in their usual places. Sam peacefully sleeps on the couch. In the morning, Eddie took him somewhere. Sam is puzzled as to why Eddie asked him to pack his things. It turns out, Eddie went to the police and explained the situation to his friend. The boy's mother left 2 weeks ago and is not answering calls. Cole said he would call Child Protective Services, and Sam would be placed in an orphanage. Sam got worried seeing Eddie leave. He in turn doesn't know what to do. Sam is not his concern, but Eddie sincerely feels sorry for the boy. Eventually, they both returned home. Now Eddie has to take care of Sam and become more responsible. Sam turned out to be quite independent. He gets ready for school himself and gets on the bus. Eddie went to work. It helped to distract him. Today, the teacher drove Sam home to check the conditions in which he lives. Eddie got nervous when the guest appeared, while Sam was watching cartoons about fairy princesses. Maggie was asking Eddie if he was coping. It turns out she also doesn't know where Shelley is. Maggie left Eddie her number in case he needs help. All evening, Eddie was trying to reach Shelley, but to no avail. He really doesn't want to be a nanny. But there is no one else to take care of the boy. Sam never parts with his dolls. He asked Eddie if he knows when Mom will return. Unfortunately, Eddie doesn't know this. Eddie himself barely knew his own mother, but he misses his father who passed away long ago a lot. Vivian always missed him too. Wishing Sam good night, Eddie looked through a scrapbook of old family pictures. There were also newspaper clippings. Eddie used to be a football star, but that was all in the past. In the morning, he drove Sam to school. He shared that he loves watching cartoons about fairy princesses, more than anything else in the world. His mom even gifted him a lunchbox with princess pictures. Bought on sale later. Lucille Cole's wife asked Daddy if he minded if Sam played with their daughter Emily. According to Lucille, Sam considers Eddie his father, so she was asking for his permission. Of course, Eddie didn't object. The situation gave him contradictory feelings. At 5 in the evening, as agreed, he came to pick up Sam. Lucille invited him into the house. Eddie didn't want this, but it would have been rude to refuse. He had to participate in a toy tea party. And he was very relieved when he was finally able to leave. He finds it odd that Sam is interacting with Emily instead of boys. In the evening, Eddie decided to take Sam to a football game and told him about how he used to play too. It turns out Maggie was also here. She invited Sam and Eddie to go bowling together sometime. When they took their seats in the stands, Daryl whispered to Eddie not to get involved with Shelley, because she's nothing but trouble. However, Eddie isn't interested in Shelley. He's only concerned about her son. The football field was populated by the players, including a new champion who had broken Eddie's record. In the meantime, he asked Daryl if he knew where the wrestlers were living. Now Eddie had tried to locate both the father and the son, but in vain. Daryl advised to put the past behind him. Daryl also believes that Eddie served time unjustly because that guy himself bragged about how much money his father had. Sam tries to copy the cheerleaders' movements. Later, after taking Sam home, Eddie went to the bar where he drank with his friends. Daryl, being drunk, began to behave inappropriately, which Sibs did not like. Eddie hastened to take him away. In the morning, Sam woke him up because they were going to go bowling with Maggie. While Sam was having fun, Maggie and Eddie were chatting. He mentioned that he attended university for about a year and then went through a completely different school of life. Maggie, in turn, talked about her unsuccessful marriage. After the divorce, she wanted to be closer to her family. Eddie has become accustomed to the fact that he needs to take care of Sam. At work, he apologized to Sibs for Daryl. Meanwhile, Forbes asked Sam if he was okay with his new guardian. Sam didn't understand why the principal was asking this. Every couple of weeks, Eddie goes to the police station to check in. This is one of the conditions of his parole. Eddie and Sam spend a lot of time together. One day, Sam asked why he constantly has to go to the police. Eddie confessed that many years ago, he had acted very badly towards one person and wanted to appropriate someone else's money, for which he paid. Sam also confessed something. It turns out he stole a toy from his classmate and now feels guilty. Sam told the boy that if he returned the toy, he would feel much better. Eddie has now found a purpose in life. He feels needed by someone, and it gives him the strength to continue living. In the morning, Eddie and Sam were preparing breakfast together. Eddie doesn't want Sam to eat only sweets as it's bad for his health. As Eddie advised, Sam returned the stolen toy. Sam's birthday party was soon held. Maggie and Emily also came to congratulate him. Eddie gave Sam a ukulele as a gift. The boy was happy with the gift, even though he is not into music. While the kids were playing, Maggie asked Eddie about his mom. He told her that she ran away when he was 5, so Vivian had replaced his mother. Maggie decided to help any sort. The mail they found, a letter from a lawyer asking Eddie to contact him regarding Vivian's will. As it turns out, Vivian left her house and all her property to the church. Eddie certainly did not expect to hear that. After the house is sold, Eddie will have 30 days to move out. Classmates pick on Sam because he doesn't look like them. Seeing this, and he stood up for Sam, the young bullies were very frightened of him. At home, Sam told Eddie that he wanted to write a letter to the Fairy Princess show. To become a participant, Eddie tried to persuade Sam, as the show is not for boys. However, Sam doesn't see anything wrong with that. At the store, he chose a princess costume for Halloween. Eddie tried to explain to him that it was wrong, but it didn't help. Some old woman told Eddie that he was a criminal and had no right to look after Sam. The boy was angered by this and firmly told the woman to stay out of it. For Eddie, it was important to know that Sam considers him good. This made him start believing it too. In class, Sam told the teacher that he would be Princess Penelope. For the holiday, Eddie couldn't convince him to wear another costume. He had no choice but to accept Sam's decision. At the party, all his classmates made fun of him and called him Samantha. Suddenly the teacher walked in, who had dressed up as Mr. Forbes to support Sam. In the evening, Maggie invited Sam and Eddie for dinner. The boy looked very happy and ate sweets. Plucking up her courage, Maggie asked Daddy what he had been in jail for. It was really hard for the guy to talk about it, but he found the strength to do so. In university, he was the star of the football team until he got injured. From that point on, doctors forbade him to play football after that. And he fell into depression, returned home and started leading an immoral lifestyle. There was a guy in their company who was constantly boasting about how his father had a lot of money. In his safe, the hooligans decided to break into the house. But the head of the family returned earlier than planned. Eddie attacked him, making the biggest mistake of his life. Sam had fallen asleep, so Maggie suggested that Eddie stay over. The next day after school, Emily invited Sam over again. Of course he was glad. During a break, Eddie searched online on how to become a legal guardian for a child. Later he came to class to see Maggie. Eddie asked his beloved for help, saying that he wanted to donate Vivian's belongings to charity. Suddenly Sam ran into the house in tears. Turns out he was hurt by Daryl. Eddie wasn't going to leave it at that. Maggie tried to persuade him from this idea, but he still went to the bar. Daryl tried to justify himself by calling Sam abnormal. But Eddie taught him a lesson. The other guys barely pulled him away. Eddie threatened Coles, who hadn't stood up for Sam in his own house, that he would tell the police that he and Daryl were accomplices in the crime if they didn't settle down. When Eddie returned home, Maggie instantly understood what had happened. She said there are always ways to resolve any conflict peacefully. Understanding that Eddie had not changed his mind, Maggie left in the morning. Eddie explained to Sam that he was not to blame. Daryl had done wrong because he is a bad person. Eddie decided to help Sam write a letter to the Fairy Princess show. This was Sam's cherished dream, which nobody had supported before. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It was Shelley, who looked very bad. Despite everything, she planned to take her son home. Of course, Sam was upset, but Eddie said that he could visit at any time. Sam hugged him. Eddie is also very upset, but he also understands that Sam should be with his mother. Seeing the ukulele, Shelley only now realized that she had forgotten about her son's birthday. Shelley lied that she had a gift for him too. Eddie feels devastated and tries to distract himself with work. Finally, plucking up courage, he approached Maggie and told her that Shelley had returned. Their conversation didn't go well. Eddie went to drink at the bar, but changed his mind in the morning. On the porch, she saw Sam, who sadly said that his mother's boyfriend had thrown out his lunchbox. Jerry thinks his stepson is a disgrace. Eddie supported Sam and was going to take him to school. The boy shared that he and his mom were soon moving in with Jerry, so he would have to go to another school. Eddie spends all day pondering what happened, looking at Jerry. He understands that this man is just as immoral as Shelley. That same day, Eddie learned that Child Protective Services had taken Sam. While Shelley was crying, Eddie rushed to the station. The woman from Child Protective Services said the court hearings would take place on Monday. The judge will decide whether to leave the boy with his mother or place him in an orphanage. In the evening, he came to Shelley's trailer and asked her to give custody of Sam to him. This angers Shelley, who believes Eddie is no better than her. Eddie tried to convince the woman that the court would never give her back Sam. Because she's ill, Shelley started screaming that she would quit all her bad habits for her son, and kicked Eddie out. He had no choice but to go to Maggie. Of course, she agreed to accompany him in court. The judge believed that Eddie had reformed, but until he finds permanent housing and completes his probation, he cannot apply for custody in tears. And he said that he knows what it's like to be abandoned, so he wants to take care of Sam. However, the judge dismissed his application. Suddenly, Shelley burst into the courtroom and started begging the judge to return her son. Sam is a special boy who has trouble interacting with Pierce, and that's why he needs his mother. The judge took pity and sent Sam back home. Every day, Eddie hears from the trailer Shelley and Jerry arguing. When Eddie realized that Shelley had returned to her old destructive habits, he took Sam. They drove a long time before stopping at a gas station. Eddie called Maggie and found out that Shelley had reported him to the police. Now he's wanted. The law would undoubtedly be on Shelley's side, as she is Sam's mother. Eddie promised Sam that everything would be okay and turns himself into the police. Coles understands that Shelley is in an inadequate state, so he intends to temporarily take Sam to Maggie. Eddie was arrested seeing this. Sam begged the police to let him go and screamed at his mother that she never loved him. Sam cried and ran after the police car. For a long time, Eddie could barely hold back tears. He was behind bars again, however. Soon Coles came to his cell and told that he could be free. Shelley had changed her testimony and said she had asked Eddie to drive Sam to buy food, so all charges against Eddie were dropped. Now Eddie and Coles are even. Eddie immediately came to Maggie, who was looking after Sam. Soon Shelley appeared at the doorstep, but the son didn't want to talk to her. Shelley had thought a lot and decided to give custody of her son to Eddie because he is a good man. It was a difficult decision for Shelley because, despite everything, she loves her son, but she also understands that it would be better for him this way. The mother and son hugged. Now Eddie can finally become Sam's official father. Things are also going well at Eddie's job. Eddie and Sam are preparing to move out of Vivian's house. In the mailbox, they found a letter from the Princess Fairy show for Sam. He was happy.